Captain's Log Supplemental.
So, Miss Vicki.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember when we were watching those WRL events and some of those grid life events where you used to see the in-car video and it had like the cameras seeing front and back, but it also could see all the telemetry and everything that was going on?
Mm-hmm.
You know, most of the ones that we liked were taken by the Sentinel system. Remember James came on our podcast earlier?
Right.
You know, we have no excuse since he lent us one for trial and demonstration purposes. We should actually probably put that in one of our cars. Maybe two.
I really think we should.
I think we should.
I know.
Because then we'd look like the immature endurance racing team that we are. Oh, wait, I mispronounced that, didn't I? Sorry, my bad. We could
So what does the Sentinel system do?
We could have 3 cameras with picture-in-picture. We could have, if we ever get the AIM system to work, open invitation to anybody from AIM to come on and give us a little bit of love. We need some help. And then we could have all our telemetry on there. And then we can have it streamed live into the paddock or around the world to our millions of fans. We're apparently very popular in Kenya right now. Don't know why, but that's fine. And it can integrate all the available race statistics from like Race Hero and everything. So we could actually see how we're doing on video. We wouldn't even have to carry around our phone anymore. Live.
I love it.
From the great halls of their house, there are assembled 3 who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team. Dominating with Dawson.
Ben Dawson. We've talked about this once before, but we had somebody call in and say, hey, can we talk about it a little bit more?
Fantastic. I'm glad they called the chat line.
That's right. Well,
we have a confession. We have a confessional line number you can call. You don't have to give a name or anything, but you have to tell us what you did.
Yeah, it's Garage Heroes in Training Anonymous. They're trying to break their habit of listening to the podcast.
You have to say what you did.
That's right. Why do you listen to that? Anyway.
Yes, right. Yes. Yeah.
So we talked about this once before, but I think we could talk about it in a more generic aspect because you had a very specific aspect you're talking about. And perhaps we should talk about it from both sides of the conversation.
Oh, man, I know exactly what this is going to be about.
A post-incident conversation at the track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a real specific one that kind of popped off.
You had something in your mind. I'm not going to say what it was, and we're not going to bring it back.
Yeah, we don't have to.
Nope. But things happen on a track. Sometimes it could be, a little rubbins racing. Sometimes it could be a big incident. Sometimes it could be, hey, I got in your way. Yep. It could be, you're doing a time attack lap and just you boned it and didn't see any and you ruined somebody's lap. And sometimes one lap in time attack is the whole weekend and varying degrees of things. But if you're the offender, the person who did the bad thing, there's one aspect of the thing. Then there's the person who had this done to them. And then there's the 50-50s where you probably should still go talk to the people. Yep. I think if we approach it from like what would typically be what should be done and what shouldn't be done, that might be helpful.
Yeah, sure. I think it's so tough, just like the concept of what's it called? What do people call it when you dive bombing? Just like the concept of dive bombing.
Yeah, dive bombing versus I just passed you because you gave me the turn. Yes.
Yeah, the concept of that and the concept of like who's at fault and who needs to be apologizing and who needs to be apologized to is so.
Well, there's the blatant extremes and then there's the stuff in the middle. So I was thinking let's just make it into three types.
Okay, gotcha. Hang on one second.
Ben's like, Bill's doing editing. I can do anything I want now.
Sorry, my it's 9:30 at night. My dogs were out barking in the backyard. So I had to trick them to come inside. Sorry about that.
No worries. I have to edit anyway, right?
Yeah. Nobody wants to hear me and my dogs. I can't believe that. All right, so we're gonna break these up into three possible scenarios, and then how would you handle in each one? Correct?
Yep.
All right, so let's start where it's the one where let's see. Here's a wacky one. I was driving an E46 at Road Atlanta, and the throttle pedal is drive-by-wire, and in the race car I was driving, it came loose.
Oh,
the whole throttle pedal unit came loose. Well, not just that. It came loose and lodged itself behind the brake pedal, which I'm unaware of because I'm strapped into a race car. So I'm in between turns 6 and 7 at Road Atlanta.
That's not the place you want to be.
I'm trying to slow down, and as I'm hitting the brakes, the car is not slowing. It actually feels like it's trying to push harder, and I can't. And I'm just barreling toward this much nicer E46. And as I finally get it gathered up and get it turned into 7, and like I realized what's going on, I somehow got the pedal up into my hand. I drive the car back to the pits with my hand.
Whoopsie.
But after that, I mean, I thought I came really close to that other car. And then after the fact, I think it was after that day's race or something like that. Somebody's like, "Hey, that red E46 in 3 days, they're looking for you. They're like, you hit them." I was like, "Oh," because I mean, all this is happening. I'm in a panic, and if I bump that car a little bit and all that, I didn't even notice it.
Yeah.
So I went and found them and talked to them about it, and they explained that the throttle was up under the brake pedal, which I was trying to use to not hit them, and that things went comically awry. They were like, "Oh, all right, man. Sorry that happened to you." You know what I mean? That was the conversation. They're like, "That's wacky." They were like, "That's wacky. Our car's fine. We just want to know why'd you hit us in a place where
we know you didn't make that up." Yeah,
so I don't know if I will have a real life example for each one of these, but that was one that was pretty cut and dry. And I think in general, unless there was genuine malice in your part, I mean, I've seen a guy in a C4 Corvette race car go smashing through a $300,000 Porsche race car because they were in the same Thunder race group at NASA event. And the guy in the race car that might have been worth $8,000 did the damage. He's like, "I had a mechanical failure in my brakes." I said, because the guy with the $300 Porsche was like, "Hey, help me pay for this car." And this guy's like, "No, I had a mechanical failure. We're all out here. That kind of shit happens. We all signed the same waiver. So
yeah."
Sometimes it can go like that too. I don't know if that's one of kind of an example of more of a 50-50 situation, but each person felt it. Well, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I was kind of thinking like there's certain incidents where it's easily one person's predominant fault,
right?
And then there's the other ones where you both kind of did something.
I had the line. Why'd you put your car in there? I had the line. Well, you didn't give me any room.
Yeah.
Kind of bickering, kind of race incidents.
Yeah, racing incident kind of thing, or some percentage thereof. So like when we had an incident and it was 3 cars going through, coming out on turn exit, and car on the inside clipped our car, which was in the middle, which then pushed our car into the outside car. So I wanted to go talk to the outside car and explain the situation. However, the outside car was in the middle of a expletive-filled tirade against other people in his team. So I thought it would be not helpful for me to go talk to them at this particular point in time because it was not going to be helpful in any situation whatsoever. And it was towards the end of the day, and then the race ended and they were gone. So I never got to talk to them. But I think the point in the conversation is to try to get people to understand, obviously to say you're sorry and try to preclude any ill will. Because all the racers tend to be, with few exceptions, good people, understanding, competitive. But some of the best people I know are race drivers.
Yeah, me too.
So I always thought it was better to go. If it's 100% your fault and 0% the other person's fault, you got to go. If it's anything in between, you should still talk anyway. And,
Yeah.
most of the time it'll be like, you know, it shouldn't be anything more than, it's racing, stuff happens. But
Yeah.
occasionally the offended party decides to get up on several high horses,
Yeah.
and that's when things can escalate in the wrong direction. And that was kind of where I was thinking we should add to this conversation, because there's something about grace, I believe, is one of those things that people talk about, and sometimes maybe a little bit more at the racetrack would be helpful.
Yeah, I think it's important to be perspicacious.
Yeah.
Have a 360 view of what's going on. Especially if you've just had an incident where you've had your life flash before your eyes, maybe something like
Yep.
that, and your
Yeah.
picture of your life flashing before your eyes might include the fact that you have kids and you have all
Yeah.
this other stuff going on outside the racetrack that you value, and you're like, man, I just came here to have a good time, and all of a sudden this guy, kind of fucked my car up. Apparently acted without regard for my safety. I didn't
I
know what's going
almost
on. I
got
don't know.
hurt, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I understand, but there's that side of it. But then again, to me, the sort of I don't think I've ever really reacted that way. Kind of. There was that one time with the guy at the Lucky Dog race who kept trying to block me and run
Yeah,
me
I
off the
remember him.
track,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
and I was real hot about that. But in general, you're right. I mean, I mean, this guy tried many, 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 many moves to screw me over and not let me by. So I felt like I was justified in being a little bit irritated with the way he behaved because he kept trying to run me off the track, which I felt was dangerous.
Right.
But in general, if it's a one-off, everybody out there is doing this thing that we all recognize is fairly dangerous. Nobody would have let you on the track if you didn't demonstrate with your behavior that you understood the
Yeah.
gravity of what you were doing in general. So you have to give everybody a little bit of grace because stuff does happen, and things fail, and we know we're pushing stuff. You're pushing everything to the limit. So I, at least to my mind, I have to assume that everybody kind of sees it a similar way that I do.
Yeah. I think it's related, but not. There's a couple of organizations we go to for HPDEs where the debriefs after, instead of being constructive, how do we get better? What can we do wrong? You
Yeah.
get a whole bunch of people complaining about point buys, and
Yep.
it drives me crazy. And sometimes when I'm instructing, and sometimes even when I'm a participant, I will raise my hand and say, listen, how many people came here to not point anybody by and make sure they've screwed everybody else on the track and drive as slow as we can and get everybody mad at me? And amazingly, I don't see many hands go up.
Right.
So obviously something is going wrong in that car. And to be fair, if it's HBD 3 or HBD 4, they shouldn't be an HBD 3 or HBD 4 if they can't do a point by separate
Right.
story. But nobody comes to the track saying, my goal today is to not point anybody by because I want them all behind me. That's not why they
Yeah.
came. So if you don't get a point by, and then it especially drives me crazy when it's one of the levels where you have to point by in certain spots and you're not allowed to point by in certain spots, and they're
Yeah.
complaining. I was behind them all the way from turn 7
Excuse
to
me.
turn 9, and I'm like sitting there going, they can't point you by from there.
Right.
Why are you angry? You're in a $150,000 Corvette Z71, 71 Z06, whatever the Corvettes are. Sorry, not Corvette, dude. And they're in a Miata. They're pedaling that puppy as fast as they can, dude. But,
Yeah.
they're not allowed to point you by there. So practice your apexes. Come up with something.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if we're talking about D's, that's always a chance for me to kind of point out the idea of giving everybody a little bit of grace. If I'm in the car with a driver who's fast and they're wishing they could get a point by, I'm always like, they're probably pretty busy in that car. If we're at a level where I'm in the car as novice or intermediate
Yep.
usually, and I'm usually like they're probably really busy and they're with their instructor, and the instructor's busy with them, and they're probably trying to just get around the track, and then giving you a point by is kind of a luxury on top of that. And we all paid they paid the same money to be here
They
that
did.
you and I did, so
You did.
they get just as much right to be out on the track and learning. And if that involves just keeping the car pointed in a straight direction without having the opportunity to let you by as part of the dance, then you just go in and ask for some time, ask for some space.
Yeah. And some of the better HPD event organizers, they have it where you self line up. Like say there's 30
Yeah.
cars. They'll be like, hey, the more experienced drivers, let's say it's HPD 2, the 2.9s almost ready for threes. Why don't you get up towards the front? And then the brand new, I just got here and I don't even know if I belong here. Why don't you go a little towards the back? And that kind of self-sorting thing, it makes things better. And
It does.
I don't think many people, especially if they're new, especially like if you're brand new to HPD, you don't know to do that. But it'd be
Yeah.
nice if they said it in class and opposed to complaining about point buys. And then it takes a long time to have to get a point buy from somebody slower in your pack because you have to basically lap them. And that's going to take a while. And usually it's a 15 or 20-minute session. And it's not going to happen too often.
Well, so did we get to sort of the third configuration of this where you're
Yeah,
the you're
I think we had a question about.
you're the so we're getting back to the kind of racist aspect of this. We talked about if you're the one who messed it up, where I had
Yeah,
the throttle pedal come loose, and then
yeah.
we've talked about how you might both feel that you're aggrieved and both feel like somebody has transgressed all up on your shit.
But the
And
recipient of the let's say the aggrieved party
yes,
should not be an asshole.
yeah, I agree. I think that's it.
That's not
You gotta be
helping.
ready to listen. You gotta be ready to listen to
Yeah.
what's going on. I mean, but also, I'll tell you, sometimes you gotta be prepared to listen, and then you're still gonna be like, well, fuck, you still fucked me up. I'm sorry you said so much bad
Yeah.
language. These situations, sometimes it can be like that. Like I'll give an example from really early on. I think I was probably already instructing, but doing a lot of NASA events, and I'm out there with my little Miata, and one of these people had one of those Factory 5 Cobra race cars,
Right.
and this guy would blast away on the straightaways, and then I'd run right back up to him on the twisty side. But he wouldn't let me by. And he'd blast away. And a few times he did a few things that were dangerous, like he'd halfway let me go and slam the door in the corner. This is a DE event.
Right.
And I go to talk to the guy afterwards, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I was having all these problems with my car, so that was a lot of fun." I was like, "No, it was not a lot of fun. Like, you kind of screwed my whole session up by dicking around and running away and then going super slow everywhere else, and it wasn't the straightaway." And I mean, I had a similar type of conversation with the guy at the Lucky Dog race after he tried to run me off the road so much. He gave me, because he wanted to come by and jaw with me about how much fun we had out on track during our
Yeah.
stint together, and I had a completely different view of how he had behaved and comported himself on track,
Yeah.
and I let him know. I was like, "Man, you tried to kill me a bunch of times," and he's like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, there's all those times where I would be in there, and then you would come zinging across the track to try to run me off, and I would either have to slam on the brakes or get hit." And he's like, oh, he started complaining that the car has so much torque steer. And I was like, and I didn't say it out
Left
loud, but I'm
and
like,
right. Yes, it's
I
amazing
was
how
like,
it has torque steers both ways.
yeah. So I was like, in my mind, I just didn't want to talk to the guy anymore. So I didn't want to get into a bunch of shit with him. But I was just in my head, I'm like, if you can't control the vehicle you're racing well enough to, control it. Don't be out there. Don't go out there and run somebody dirty as shit and then blame torque steer or not be able to control your vehicle. I was like, you're really not building the case for how much fun we had and how cool and safe it was. And you're like,
No.
oh, also I can barely control that thing. It's so powerful. I almost hit you all those times. It wasn't murder. It wasn't attempted murder. It was just incompetence. I'm
It
like,
was
you're
just
really
manslaughter. It's fine.
you
It's
it was
fine.
just willful incompetence because I needed to be out there in a car I can't handle. But so I mean sometimes you go have the whole conversation and you walk away completely unsatisfied except for well at least they tried, and no matter how unguided or stupid it is, you're like, well, maybe they at least tried to make contact. But I think it all boils down to whether you're the party doing the aggrieving or the being aggrieved or whatever. You gotta try to have that conversation because
You do.
if everybody just ignores incidents that happen, our culture at the track will suffer in general. So everybody's got to kind of abide by that general guideline. I think of something happen, we got to have church. Got to go
Yeah.
to church about it. And sometimes that church may involve officials. Sometimes they may be like, hey, I need to have this addressed. And a lot of more organized club racing series have that all very formalized with a protest process and all that sort of stuff. Like,
Yep.
go file a complaint, and they can come tell their story, and we can suss out what really happened with the required camera footage and stuff like that. Or it might just be a Paddock conversation where you're like, hey, what the fuck, man?
But while you should have a conversation, I don't think, at least at our level, we are not professionals. We are not making our mortgage. We are not. We are fighting
Uh,
over at most a plastic piece of trophy. There's no reason for it to become physical.
oh no 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 no! When I was racing karts on dirt, they had to have a sheriff out there because there were fights every Saturday night at some degree. But that's a whole different deal in road course racing. I've only ever seen people get a little shirty and a little in each other's face. It was a Mustang Challenge race like a million years ago in the NASA event. But I saw two drivers get out and like start to kind of like run toward each other, but nothing happened.
Yeah. I mean,
Nothing's worth that.
no, no. Because again, the person didn't do this to you on purpose,
Yeah.
you know, and if they did, because I'm not going to say it's not impossible. It's not impossible for them to do it on purpose. That will be cleaned up. Don't worry, they won't be here long.
Yeah. Yeah. If it's somebody who truly has disregard for kind of the mores and
Hmm.
things, the expected behavior on track, then yeah, they'll get penaltied out or just told not to come back.
They will.
Or they'll do donuts in the paddock of a WRL event at Road Atlanta, and then get kicked out of WRL for a certain period of time, and then start showing back up, and then now they have an IMSA team.
Uh-huh. And then
They
Ben
learned their
Dawson,
lesson. Yeah,
you wanted a pink shirt.
I look great in a pink shirt. I can't wait to get one of those slapped across my body.
Well,
This has my name all over it too.
limited edition. Well, if you get a marker, it does.
I love it. That's good. That's good. I didn't really want one with my name on it.
Yeah, that's fine. I figured you were embarrassed enough with the first ones that had your name on it. So it just came in the mail today. So
I like that.
they'll be zinging down south shortly. So,
Fantastic. I look great. I look great in the pink shirt.
all right, very well. We will. I did find a place that will do us tie-dye shirts. So if we want to have tie-dye
Ooh.
shirts,
I also love tie dye. I love tie dye shirts too.
I know we're gonna have various parts of. You know what else they have? They have cooking aprons.
Ooh, yeah. Hail to the chef.
Exactly. Only it says garage shares and training. It doesn't say that
Um,
at gmail.com, but we're working on that.
so did we cover the aggrieved parties?
I think so. I just don't want to see, you know, I want to see some semblance of sanity and some
Yeah.
semblance of, you know,
Grace and courtesy,
exactly.
respect. Yeah.
They're out there trying too, and their goal when they woke up in the morning was not, turn four, I'm going to punt that guy off into the weeds. That was not what they came here for. And sometimes
Oh
it
yeah.
happens, you know?
Well, I thought what you meant was more like if you try to murder Ben Dawson for like 5 minutes solid on track,
Yeah.
have the self-respect to come own it and like
Yes.
ridicule
Yes.
me in person and say, I wish I'd finished the job. Don't
That's right.
sidle up to me. Don't ease over to me in the pits. I'm
Oh.
just kidding. No,
And
no,
it was the torque steer. It wasn't me.
no, you're right. Part of this whole thing we're doing is in some ways a life and death undertaking, and it has to be taken with some seriousness, which I think has got to include being open to communicating about it. Because at the end of the day, when the dust settles on those type of situations, likely we've learned something in those
Yeah, we
instances
should.
too. So you should be picking up some new knowledge to move forward with, even if there's been some carnage and some hurt in there. It's everything can be used as a training
Yep.
experience, even if it's even if it sucks.
That's right. And that there are, I am not going to say there aren't times like when I decided, well, we're not going to talk about this right now. There are times when perhaps you should wait a half hour, maybe a
Yeah,
little cooling off period, something like that. But
yeah. I will jump up and advocate for being another voice behind using your skills at reading the room.
yep.
Yeah, if you walk over there and there's sockets flying and everybody's screaming and they're thrashing on the car and it looks like a bunch of guys who always work on the car and know exactly what they're doing, they don't need to talk to you about that at that moment. Whatever, you know what I mean? You go over
Yeah.
there.
I mean,
Here's
they
this.
can
Here's
be
this.
angry. It's okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, but also you kind of use the context of what you've observed. Like, if you've been at a race at CNP all weekend, and you've been under the covered paddock with this one team who spent all day Saturday expertly putting an engine in this car that blew up on Friday, and then they get out there on Sunday, and then you knock them right off the track, and then they're over there expertly rebuilding that car again. But we've watched this squad of people who all obviously know and love this car all weekend, and then you go over there, you try to go over after that, and they're all just super white hot, mad, and flinging parts around. Not the right time to go. Hey guys.
Yeah. Or if that's the only time you can be there, make sure you have liquids in your hand.
Yes,
You know,
I've literally walked over and pressed a beer in a guy's hand after I had a brake failure and my
yep.
car ran into his. My car had not a scratch on it. His car was pretty bitched up, and I felt bad about it, but it wasn't anything I could do anything
Yep.
about it. The brakes didn't work going into a corner, but I walked over there, pressed the Sierra Nevada into his hand, and started to talk to him about it. Just let him know
Yep.
what had happened and wanted to hear how he was doing and how he felt. I mean, one of the I'll teach you a cheat code. And it's not false concern, but I mean, when you walk over there, first up, how are you? How's your body? You okay?
Yep, everybody good.
You show concern. You show concern for the person first.
Yep.
That will carry you a long way into having an okay conversation.
Yep.
You go over there first. Hey, no, hey, just first off, I just want to say, are you okay? How are you doing? Can I do anything for you? Can I get you anything right now?
Yeah, don't start off with the, you did. That's not
Yeah.
gonna get the conversation go off to a good start there.
Yeah, I mean, if it's the person who ended up getting hit the hardest or hitting something the hardest, go over there and see how they're doing first. I think that's I'm glad we're kind of lingering and kind of circling, draining, and kind of dredging up more stuff about this as we keep talking about it, because it's a fraught topic, and it's something that's going to come up. If you're out here racing and going hard and getting better and better at it, you're going to cross swords with people and shit's going to happen. It's not a matter of if it'll ever happen. It's going to happen. I mean, somebody's going to get you, or you're going to get somebody. I guess I could probably tell stories that fall in this vein forever, but I mean, there was one where I was racing lemons at CMP in the hoopty corner. I was the fastest car on the track, and somebody who didn't go to the rookie meeting saw me coming, jumped out of the line into where I was trying to into the space I was using to pass them, knocked me off hard enough to really scare me. I thought the car was going to flip. I kind of kept up with the spins and didn't dig in, but I was like, oh crap, I'm really in trouble here for a second,
This is unexpected.
But then talking about it with the other driver after it, came up when I talked about it and said, yeah, I didn't go to the rookie meeting. And I was like, well, fuck, I gave her a hug and said, I'm glad you're okay. But I was like, that sucks.
Go to the rookie meeting, please.
And she didn't go and learn how to do this before you got out there and really fucked our whole weekend up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, like I say, it's not like you're always going to be ready with a bouquet of flowers and everybody's apologizing and hugging, but you just kind of make the best out of it. Hope somebody learned more than they knew going into it.
Yeah, but again, that wasn't why she came to the track that day. She didn't say, "Hey, I'm going to take them car out on,"
Totally.
Mistakes happen. I mean, just look at Lance Stroll in every race in Formula. Oh, sorry.
Oh man.
Anyway, all right, Ben. We have done our duty. We have discussed things. We have talked to people. We have pressed the flesh. We have said, I'm sorry. We have brought liquid refreshments. By the way, if you bring something to me, root beer is much preferred over beer, but that's fine.
Root beer. Sarsaparilla.
Or water. I'm good.
Water.
Ben Dawson, what would you like? What's your drink of preference in the case that some unfortunate accident happens?
Probably any type of beer right away is a good start. I'll yeah, that's definitely a good way to kick it off.
It does. All right. Well, hopefully nobody gets to listen to this and use this. But
I'll tell you what I would like to hear though, if we have listeners who've had experiences in this vein and want to tell us about them, I'd love to hear how this has gone for you. What's worked for you well? What's worked well for you? What have you done where that might have been like gone over like a fart in a spacesuit? If you got those kind of stories, we'd like to hear that too.
You know what else? Sometimes these things don't go as well, and you still have balled up, bottled up frustration. Perhaps
who do you know that might have that? You don't know anybody like on this call that has.
It's a rumor I've heard.
And pent up feelings.
But perhaps writing it to garageheroesandtraining@gmail.com, you could release it to the universe and we could have fun with it on our podcast.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, saying it over and over again like I have on so many different episodes of the show has really been therapeutic for me to talk about it and talk about it. Next time, I'm naming names.
Uh-oh. That's only on the OnlyFans, though. You got to pay extra for that.
Yeah, see my Hobbit feet, hear names.
That's right. It's a scary place to be, but you got to do what you got to do. Anyway,
that's right.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. Your pink shirt is on the way, sir.
All right, I'm so excited.
Have a good night.